Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Wednesday, February the 27th. We got another 11-game slate this week, 11 games on Wednesday. Going to go through each position and talk about some of my favorite plays on this slate. This is definitely a slate where we're going to have to keep up with injury news. There's a lot of key injuries we have to watch. Guys that were out on Monday that we don't know their status as of right now. I'm recording this video on Tuesday night. Giannis was out on Monday. Don't know if he's going to play or not today. I have a good feeling he's going to play because that game against the Bulls seemed like a spot where they could kind of take it easy on him, not rush him back. I feel like he's going to be back today, but that's an injury we're going to have to watch. Really impacts the slate if Giannis is in or out. If he's in, obviously you could consider playing him, but if he's out, then obviously like going to guys like Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, even though they underperformed in the last slate, I think we can definitely go back to the well on them, especially against the Kings. There's another couple injuries I want to talk about. Von Rab is doubtful, so he's unlikely to play. That should really free up some minutes in the front court for Memphis. Otto Porter is questionable. Domantas Sabonis is going to be out a few games. Chris Dunn's questionable as well. Porter and Dunn both sat out on Monday. We really don't know if they're going to play today. When we go through each position, I'll try and talk about these injuries and how they impact the position. Jeff Teague, questionable. He sat out Monday. We're not sure if he's going to play. Great matchup against the Hawks. If Teague's in, I think we could play him. If he's out, Tyus Jones becomes a really good value. I have a good feeling Teague's going to sit again, so that's going to lead me to go into a guy like Tyus Jones. I talked about Rab. He's doubtful, unlikely to play. Also, the Heat injuries. We're going to have to watch Justice Winslow, if I can get all these right. Winslow, McGruder, James Johnson, and Derek Jones Jr. were all out last game. Kelly Olynyk played 41 minutes last game. He was one of the best values on the slate on Monday. It looks like Derek Jones Jr. is going to return. James Johnson's questionable. Winslow's going to return. If Johnson's still out, though, Kelly Olynyk should still be looking at big minutes. I doubt he plays 41 again, especially with Derek Jones Jr. returning. But Kelly Olynyk, if Johnson's out, could probably play about 31, 32 minutes. And he's still relatively cheap. So all those injuries I talked about are some we're going to have to be watching as the day goes on Wednesday. Definitely some of those injuries really impact the slate on how we're going to approach things. But I'll work my way through each position, cover some of the injuries, and talk about some players I like. We'll talk about DraftKings and Yahoo. Before we do get started, though, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, so that way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. So starting off at point guard, the top of this position I'm not really interested in today. I don't really feel like any of these top plays are must-plays. If I'm going to pay up for anyone, it's going to be probably a guy like D'Angelo Russell at 8,700. I really like that matchup with the Wizards, but I still don't think D'Angelo Russell is going to be a core play for me. I think a lot of the core plays today are like at center. I think there's a ton of good center plays, especially at the top. LeBron, I think, is in a really good spot against the Pelicans. I just don't really feel like Harden, Doncic, Irving, Curry, Lillard, I don't feel like these guys are going to be players that I really play a ton of today. I think there are good plays in the mid-range, especially if Chris Dunn and Porter are both out again. I think Zach LaVine at 7,700 really stands out, even in a matchup with the Grizzlies, a slow-paced matchup. I still like Zach LaVine at 7,700. I think he is in play here. If Giannis is out, Eric Bledsoe really performed poorly last game. He looked really bad against the Bulls. If Giannis is out, I'm going right back to the well on Eric Bledsoe. 6,500 against the Kings, would still have a ton of interest in him if Giannis sits. Looking for value, though, definitely want to talk about Jeff Teague and how he impacts this position. If he is out, Derrick Rose at 5,500, you could play, but I don't really think you have to play Derrick Rose. Even with Teague out in the last game, Rose only played 25 minutes. Ever since ever since Tibbs got fired, gotten the new coach, he's kind of been limited Rose to about 23 to 25 minutes, whether Teague is in or out. Now, obviously, if like Teague was out and if Teague was out and Tyus Jones were out, and even like Bayless were injured or something, obviously Rose would be playing big minutes. But they don't want to go out there and push Rose for like 37, 38 minutes. When Teague was out earlier this year, when Tibbs was the coach, Rose was starting and playing 36 to 38 minutes. That's not going to be the case here with the new coach. So I think the guy that we really want to look to is Tyus Jones. I feel like Teague's going to sit again today, so Tyus Jones should be looking at a start here against the Hawks, and he is a really good play, in my opinion, if Jeff Teague is out. If Jeff Teague plays, we obviously want to go somewhere else. Do not play Tyus Jones if Jeff Teague is in. But like I said, I expect Teague to be out, so Tyus Jones should be looking at a start here against the Hawks. Should be looking at about 30 to 32 minutes. Great matchup. The Hawks have been pretty much the worst team defensively this year against point guards. We've seen even some like average point guards have big games against the Hawks. Like Tyler Johnson went off for like 45 or 50 DraftKings points against them. This is definitely a spot where we could get 35 to 40 points out of Tyus Jones. At 4,500, he looks like a really good play. Even with his price tag rising, I still think he's a good play on DraftKings. And on Yahoo, I think he's a good play as well. He's $14 over here at point guard. Really stands out to me if Jeff Teague is out today. And then other values we could go to. If I'm going cheap, he's a guy that I really want. But there is one more player you could go to. If Chris Dunn's out, Ryan Arcidiacono at 4K as a value is not the worst play. He played 30 minutes last game with Chris Dunn out. He did get the start, put up 20 DraftKings points. He probably plays about 30 to 32 minutes again, probably scores anywhere from 20 to 25 DraftKings points. Obviously not a value play you have to have, but is at least in play. If Chris Dunn's out and Jeff Teague plays and you want to pivot off of Tyus Jones, then Arcidiacono definitely becomes a good option. So I think that's it for point guard. Let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard and talk about this position. So this position, kind of the same as point guard. I don't really feel like the top options are going to be core plays for me. James Harden, Curry, Bradley Beal. I mentioned Russell. I think Russell's fine, but I still don't have a ton of interest in him. I don't think he's going to be a core play for me, especially now that he's up to 8,700. Bradley Beal at 8,900 you could go to against Brooklyn, but not my favorite play either. Shooting guard, I like the mid-range again. I like Zach LaVine quite a bit. I talked about him at point guard. I think he is a really good play today. If Giannis is out, then Chris Middleton at 6,400 is definitely a guy we could go back to. I wouldn't mind playing him. If Jeff Teague sits, I think Andrew Wiggins is 6,200 is definitely in play if you want to play Andrew Wiggins at this position. If we're looking for value here for cheap plays, $5,400 Malcolm Brogdon would become a really good play if Giannis does not play today. I like him quite a bit. And then sub 5K, looking for cheap value. Nicholas Batum been playing really well lately, been playing big minutes as well. Ever since Jeremy Lamb moved to the bench, we've been seeing Batum show some upside. I think that game against the Wizards, Jeremy Lamb went to the bench on that game. That was the game they started Bridges, and they've started Bridges ever since then. And in the 3 games with Jeremy Lamb on the bench, we got 37, 38, and 37 minutes out of Nicholas Batum, 39, 26, and 37 DraftKings points. At 4,700, I do like him quite a bit as a value play. Feels weird saying Nicholas Batum's a good value, especially on an 11-game slate, but with Jeremy Lamb on the bench, it's actually really helped Nicholas Batum quite a bit, so I do like him as a value play at 4,700 if you do need to go cheap at shooting guard. He does stand out at this position. And then you do have Arcidiacono at 4K, who you could go to if Chris Dunn's out. But let's go ahead and talk about small forward. So we do have LeBron and Giannis at the top of this position. LeBron 11-1 against the Pelicans, Giannis 11K against the Kings. Both guys in great spots. Love this spot for LeBron against the Pelicans team that's just really bad defensively and plays at a very fast pace. We've seen lately LeBron's just been playing huge minutes. If the Lakers want to even have a chance at making it to the postseason, LeBron's going to have to carry this team to the postseason. We've seen the last 2 or 3 games, I believe, ever since the All-Star break ended, 40, 38, and 39 minutes out of LeBron. All games were competitive. I expect this game to be competitive. Has a very high total at 239 total, 5.5 point spread. Looks like a smash spot for LeBron. I like him a lot on Yahoo, where he's just $53 at power forward. We will talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is definitely a spin-up option we want to go to. But on Yahoo specifically, there are so many good centers in the mid-range. I think Jonas Valanciunas at $22 is going to be a core play for me on Yahoo. We're going to talk about Joakim Noah as a value. You have Kelly Olynyk as a value, maybe even Robin Lopez, Dwight Powell. Hard to pay up for Cal on Yahoo. I'm still going to have him in a few of my lineups, but since there are so many good centers in the mid-range, I think paying up at power forward, spending your money here for a guy like LeBron makes a ton of sense. On DraftKings, I do prefer LeBron slightly to Giannis if Giannis plays today. It is a great spot for Giannis as well against the Kings, but I just feel like LeBron's probably going to play 5 or 6 more minutes than Giannis. This game has a very high total. I'm not sure what the total is in that game, the Milwaukee-Sacramento game. That game right now has let's see if I can find it real quick. Yahoo usually updates the totals pretty regularly. Let's see if I can find it. Or actually, this game's offline, so I imagine we're waiting on Giannis news to see what happens there. No total right now in that game, but I would imagine that total is probably like 231, 232. Right now, New Orleans and Lakers game is at a 239 total, so expect to be high scoring and expect to be close. I like LeBron quite a bit on both sides. On DraftKings, I'm going to rather prefer to pay up for Karl-Anthony Towns because on DraftKings there's a lot of good center plays that you can use at power forward. We're going to talk about Marvin Bagley. We're going to talk about Bobby Portis. These guys you can play at power forward, so you don't have to play, you can play 4 centers on DraftKings with how they have power forward eligibility. On Yahoo, it's a bit different because only center eligibility, or guys that are at center, you can only play at center or util, so a little bit tougher to fit in Towns there. But I still would play some Towns on Yahoo if you're playing over there. DraftKings, though, back to DraftKings at small forward. Love LeBron today. I like Giannis as well, but I prefer LeBron in a nutshell. Now talking about other small forwards, like I said, going back to Chris Middleton, if Giannis sits again, Chris Middleton 6,400, wouldn't mind going there. Jeff Teague, if he's out, Andrew Wiggins at 6,200 becomes a really good option if you do want to play him. Looking at some of these mid-range plays, not a ton really stands out to me here in the mid-range. Maybe like a Bogdanovich at 4,900 you could play for value. I mentioned Nicholas Batum. I do like Nicholas Batum quite a bit as a value at 4,700, but there's really no punt plays here. At this position, I'm probably going to be playing a guy like Batum, trying to pay up for LeBron. If Giannis is out, I'll be looking at Chris Middleton. If Jeff Teague's out, I'll be looking at Andrew Wiggins. Those are the guys that really stand out to me. Let's go ahead and move on to power forward, though, and talk about this position. So obviously on Yahoo specifically, I like paying up for LeBron. You can play LeBron at power forward on DraftKings as well. On DraftKings, there's a lot of good mid-range power forwards. Some of these guys on Yahoo are at center, so we'll talk about them when we get over to Yahoo. But a guy I want to touch on is Marvin Bagley. I love Marvin Bagley today. He's 6,700 on DraftKings, and on Yahoo he's at power forward as well, and he's $30 over here. We saw him draw the start in the last game against the Timberwolves, and he played 37 minutes, put up 48 DraftKings points. It looks like Bagley's going to continue to start. I would imagine that's probably what they're going to do for the time being. If Bagley continues to start, his minutes should just continue to rise. He should be playing probably 35 to 38 minutes on a nightly basis. Easily can give you a point per minute, even in a tough defensive matchup against the Bucks. Obviously, the Bucks play very good team defense, but they do play at a fast pace. This game's going to be played at a fast pace, and it should be high scoring. I would imagine once the total is released, it's going to be a high total. If the game stays close, we probably get about 36 to 38 minutes out of Bagley. 6,700, if he's going to continue to play those big minutes, he's very hard to avoid at this price tag, especially on DK on Yahoo where he's at power forward. You can play him there. If he was at center, it would be a little bit tougher to play him because there's so many good center plays today. But on DraftKings, you can play him at power forward. Yahoo, you can play him at power forward. Looks really, really good. And then I also want to talk about Bobby Portis. I'm going to plug him in at forward on DK. I like Bobby Portis a lot today. It's a little bit tougher to play him on Yahoo because if we look at the pricing, he's at center over here, and Jonas Valanciunas, who we're going to talk about in a second, is only $1 more than Bobby Portis. And in a nutshell, I would just rather play Jonas Valanciunas. But on DraftKings, where you can play Bobby Portis at power forward or in your forward spot, I think he's a really good option. He did start in their last game against the Pacers. It was a tough matchup for Portis. He only played 17 minutes. He looked really bad. I hope people shy away from Portis here. This is definitely a bounce-back spot for him against a very bad Brooklyn defense, a Brooklyn defense that just gets killed by bigs. Portis is going to continue to start. I would imagine he's going to play a lot better in this matchup and in this game. And he's probably going to get back to 32 minutes, I would imagine. If he plays 32 minutes against this Brooklyn front court, should absolutely be able to go off. I would be surprised if Bobby Portis scores less than 35 DraftKings points here. At 6,300 on DK, he feels like a really good play. Hopefully, people shy away from him because he underperformed in the last game. Maybe that'll keep his ownership down a little bit. Love Bobby Portis today at power forward if you want to play him at this position. But if we're going for cheaper plays here, if Giannis is out, I think we can definitely go back to Nikola Mirotic. I know he did poorly in their last game as well, but I still have a lot of interest in him, especially at 5,500 if Giannis sits today. If James Johnson is out, I think Kelly Olynyk continues to play probably low 30s in minutes. I don't expect him to play 41 minutes today, but definitely could probably get about 30 to 32 minutes out of Kelly Olynyk. So at 4,900 against the Warriors, I wouldn't mind playing him if you need a value here. But I think that's it for value plays at power forward, at least talking about cheap plays. Marvin Williams is doubtful for this game. That could be a key injury. That could open up some value. It'll be interesting to see who they decide to start in place of Marvin Williams. It's probably going to be Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He's probably going to be needed defensively. He's small forward, power forward. He's only 3,200. He at least is an option we could consider. He's not the best point per minute guy, but when you're close to stone minimum, at least if you're going to start and play anywhere to close to 30 minutes, that's damn near minimum price tag. at least puts him in play as an option for value. I don't think he's like a core player or anything, but Marvin Williams being out at least opens up MKG as a value play. Frank Kaminsky, I'm not even sure if he's been getting minutes lately. Let's see, I'll pull up his game log real quick. If Kaminsky were to start, that would make him very, very interesting at just 3K, but he's only been playing like 10 minutes a night. I doubt they run Kaminsky out there for 30 minutes. MKG probably picks up the start. Could be in play for value if you really just want to punt, but let's go ahead and move on to center now. Talk about this position. So at the top here, love Karl-Anthony Towns at 10,600 against the Hawks. I think this is a great spot for Karl-Anthony Towns. I like him a lot on DraftKings with how the centers break down, how you can play like guys at power forward. It makes it a lot easier to play Towns. We're going to talk about some other centers on Yahoo to where I don't think you have to play Towns, but if you're going to pay up at this position, he's by far my favorite option. I would definitely play him over AD. I would definitely play him over Andre Drummond. Love Towns here against the Hawks. He absolutely crushed this Hawks team earlier this year for 70 DraftKings points. He did play 41 minutes. I was looking at it earlier. I'm not sure if the game went into overtime or not, but got 41 minutes out of Cat last time these two teams played, or 42 minutes actually. 70 DK points, had 31 and 19 with 5 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal. Just a monster game from Cat. If Jeff Teague is out today, we do see Karl-Anthony Towns pick up a few more assists. Jeff Teague was out in that last game against the Kings. It was a great matchup for Towns. He was surprisingly low owned. He was like 6% owned on Yahoo. I think he was like 10% owned on DraftKings. Was very surprised when I saw his ownership. He went off for 72 DK points, had 34 and 21 with 5 assists, 2 blocks. Big game from Karl-Anthony Towns. I'd expect another big game out of him here. Really like him a lot on DraftKings at 10,600. My next favorite pay-up option would definitely be Rudy Gobert. Love this spot for Rudy Gobert against the Clippers. Last time these teams played, I was very high on Rudy Gobert. He put up 63 DraftKings points in 33 minutes against the Clippers. It's such a good matchup for Gobert. This Clippers team's been getting killed by bigs all year, especially bigs that can rebound well, that can score. That's obviously something Rudy Gobert is good at. So at 8,200 on DK, I think he's $38 on Yahoo. He looks like a great play if you're not paying up for Cat. Rudy Gobert would definitely be my next favorite option. But the next guy I want to talk about is Jonas Valanciunas. So Joe Val is 7,400 on DraftKings. That's kind of a tough price to pay. Joe Val probably projects for like 25, 26 minutes, probably like 41, 42 fantasy points. Obviously, if he gets you 42 fantasy points at 7,400, that's definitely a decent play. That's not like a guy you have to have. On Yahoo, though, if you get 42 fantasy points out of Jonas Valanciunas at $22, that makes him one of the best plays on the slate, and I think he probably projects for like 42 fantasy points. It's pretty much impossible for me not to play Joe Val on Yahoo. In my 10 Yahoo lineups, he's probably going to be in almost every one. He's just way too cheap. He should be like the same price as LaMarcus Aldridge or DeMarcus Cousins or Harrell. He should not be $22. Probably should be like $10 more expensive. So while Joe Val is still this cheap on Yahoo, you should definitely be playing him. Ever since going to the Grizzlies, he's played at least 20 minutes in every game. He's put up at least 27 fantasy points in every game. I expect Valanciunas minutes to be in the mid to upper 20s. I expect the fantasy points to be in the mid to high 30s pretty much on a nightly basis. And maybe in this game against the Bulls, which is a really good matchup for Valanciunas, you get a ceiling game and he goes off for like 45 to 50 fantasy points. Valanciunas does have that kind of upside when he gets the minutes, so love him on Yahoo. On DraftKings, if you want to play him, I think he's fine, but definitely not as necessary since his price is up to $7,400. But the one value play I want to talk about at this position, probably going to be very, very popular, but he's hard to avoid. Joakim Noah, $4,800 on DraftKings. And on Yahoo, he's $15. I think you can definitely play Jonas Valanciunas and Joakim Noah together on Yahoo, which usually is something I don't do, especially because these guys split minutes. Rarely are they going to play like alongside each other. I think in that game against the Cavs, they did play a few minutes alongside each other, which was kind of surprising. Maybe with Von Rab doubtful for this game, we do get Joakim Noah starting at power forward and Valanciunas starting at center. I would say that's pretty unlikely, but maybe they do that. Joakim Noah, though, been playing so well, even in limited minutes, even in backup center minutes, even getting like 23, 24 minutes. He's been very productive, 36 and 37 DraftKings points the last two games in 24 and 23 minutes. This is a great matchup against the Bulls. It's a revenge game for Joakim Noah for what that's worth. I like him quite a bit. I think with Von Rab being doubtful, that just frees up more minutes in the front court. Joakim Noah probably picks up a few minutes with Rab. Unlikely to play here. So on DraftKings, where he's $4,800, he looks like one of the best values. On Yahoo, where he's $15 at center, he looks like a great value over here as well. And with how underpriced Joe Val is, I think you can definitely play Joe Val and Noah together on Yahoo. I don't mind that at all. I'm probably going to have at least a few lineups where I go with Joe Val and Noah. Out of my 10 lineups, probably at least like 2 or 3 are going to have that combination. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for center, and I think that is it for the video. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully the video did help you. If you enjoyed, just make sure you click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already, and if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Good luck on Wednesday's 11-game slate. Peace.